All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to the brand spanking new Rithmm Lab with myself, Josh Appelbaum. It's great to see you guys once again. So it's pretty much the same routine. We're still doing Rithmm live streams on Tuesdays, but based upon the name change, you can tell we're switching things up a little bit. I think as a sports bettor, you kind of got to just go with, the seasonality of sports betting. And one thing that I love about sports betting is, you can constantly just kind of more for transition into what's coming up next. Obviously, we went through a big college basketball year. Prior to that, we had NFL with the live stream, myself and James Santor on Sundays, then the college hoops live stream, and now it's the Rithmm Lab. So new title, same exact name. Of course, the whole point of these live streams, regardless of the title, is really to help you guys use Rithmm to your best advantage. So learn how to interpret the betting recommendations, figure out how to create your own systems, figure out how to interpret what Rithmm is recommending to you. There's different ways and thought processes looking at it in terms of, hey, do I blindly just follow the recommended plays? Do I use a little bit of my own intuition here? That's obviously a big part of it. But the goal of the labs here, again, regardless of the name, is to help you guys win with Rithmm, because Rithmm has such a wealth of information and stats and these AI advanced models that all the data is there for us. We just have to interpret it correctly and place bets strategically. So Rithmm gives us all the ingredients to make the cake, but we got to then make the cake ourselves and hopefully have a delicious piece of red velvet cupcake or whatever. But anyway, welcome as always to everybody. I see Willie Tomlinson, my guy, in the chat here, one of my wise guys from the All Systems Go Sports Betting Pod. Willie, is your feedback? I hope it's back. Always give it a second here, maybe refresh it, but hopefully you are locked and loaded and good to go. So in terms of this Rithmm Lab here for today, and I guess I should just, kind of let you guys know what the Rithmm Lab is all about. Whole point is we're just going to Myrna BD. Nice. Yo, what up, my man? Willie's back. Excellent. So we're getting all the wise guys into the lab. I love it. Put on your your lab coat, your goggles. We're going to be mixing up some nice bets here. Hopefully, Walter White and Jesse Pinkman style in the Winnebago, or maybe in someone's basement, Tuco's basement. Who knows? But anyway, point of the Rithmm Lab is the fact that we are going to hit on all sports. So Sunday stream was NFL, Tuesday was college hoops. Now we can kind of do everything. So obviously it'll be based on seasonality. When the NFL returns, we'll go back to the Sunday live streams. That is a ways away. For now, what I'm really going to focus on is the NBA playoffs. And I do have an NBA play for you guys tonight, which I love and which Rithmm is also recommending that we play. And again, you may have tuned into some live streams that I've hosted before, but my whole approach to Rithmm is that I start with the betting market. I start by interpreting what the betting market is telling me based on the line movement and the bet splits and my betting system matches, and then I basically add that last leg to what Rithmm is recommending. And my goal always is to break down a game, find a spot where I'm against the public with the house and with the pros, try to beat the closing line. You're never going to hear me talk parlays because I'm not a parlay guy. Parlays are a massive penny slot winner for the house. They make the house millions and millions and millions, and they cost a lot of sports bettors. You wonder why they promote all those plays on social media, not because the books are taking a hit and they're hoping that regular bettors win. No, they're promoting it because it makes a massive cash cow for the house. So that's why I'm not a big parlay guy. Yeah, you can hit a parlay and feel great. Maybe you can take advantage of some money line parlays in the NFL. I'll defer to you guys if that's what you want to do. But I'm not a big parlay person because the hold percentage on parlays. And have you noticed same game parlays, SGPs? You notice when you log into the app, these books are going to just give you a recommended bet, a same game parlay. Bet $10, win 200. Do you think they're telling you that because the chances of winning are high? No, chances of winning are very low. They're hoping that you place that bet because most likely they're going to clean up on that bet that you make. So don't get me going here off on parlays. We'll be here all day. And always people are like, yeah, but parlays are fun. It's like, okay, that's your bankroll. You can do whatever you want. I'm just not a parlay person. I'm a flat better, individual, risk one unit. Every single play is the same. That's really the way that I approach it. But anyway, we will be focusing for now at least, on the NBA playoffs. NBA playoffs kick off tonight. I do have a play for you guys in the early game, Hawks and Magic. And then we're going to talk Major League Baseball because if you haven't noticed yet, MLB is now live in the Rithmm app. The team at Rithmm has been working really hard to get it started here. Rhythm's been around for a couple years at this point, but what I respect about Rithmm is they didn't just want to give you MLB just to say here it is. They wanted to go through a couple seasons, refine the model, get all this information, and then back test it, back model it, make sure that it's something that they're confident in to place recommendations. So MLB is now live. You will see it at the top of your page here on the Rithmm app. So we will be talking some MLB as well. I actually have a dog that is a really good team getting plus money tonight. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, I want to start off with the NBA because the regular season in the NBA is now over with, and we now have the postseason. We got the play-in games to start. So I think if you're betting NBA, I would argue it's one of the hardest sports to bet on. I think one of the main reasons why NBA is so difficult is just the fact that we never know who's going to play and who isn't going to play. NBA is, the sport where, maybe a guy's questionable, he gets ruled out, load management, rest. They've instituted these rules in terms of, you can't make an all NBA team, first, second, or third team, or win an award unless you play at least 65 games. I can tell you, you can probably see I got a Red Sox hat and a Bruins shirt. The Celtics right now, there's a question about Jaylen Brown. He didn't make 65 games. Is his knee hurt? Yada, yada, yada. I hope he's okay, obviously, as a Celtics fan. But my whole point being is that I may not be a huge NBA regular season bettor because I think it's very volatile, very unpredictable among all the major sports. But I do love getting in on the postseason because to me, the postseason is night and day, completely different than the regular season. And I'll line it up a few obvious things for you. One is the fact that pretty much everyone's going to play. If you are 50-50 in a regular season game and a sleepy middle of December night, you're probably going to sit it out because the game means nothing. If you have a nagging injury, probably everyone has nagging injuries when you get to the postseason, but probably almost everyone is going to play because you're trying to win an NBA title. So right off the bat, we don't have to worry too much about will a guy sit? Is it a back-to-back, load management? Pretty much everyone's playing. That makes the handicap a little bit easier than the regular season. Number two is the schedule. On the one hand, you're looking at fewer games to choose from. So if we're looking at a regular NBA night, there might be 5, 6, 7, 8 games. You're looking at the postseason. Usually there's 1, 2, or 3 at the most 4. So just from the standpoint of dialing back the number of games, that means that each game is going to be more heavily bet. They're all on primetime. They're all on TNT, ESPN. So if you wanted to bet a Hornets Pelicans game, you may not even get that on TV. It's probably really low bet in the regular season. Now all these games are basically island games, solo games, whatever you want to call it. They're extremely heavily bet. The public also, you can look at this pretty much amongst all the postseasons in the major sports and college. March Madness, obviously, bowl games, college football. But the public may not have, grinded and sweat with us, with Rithmm and, looking at the betting market all year long. But they're going to come in during the postseason because they feel like, hey, it's fun. It captures the attention of, the water cooler talk around the office. People want to participate in these postseason games. So therefore, you're going to get an influx of public betting, which as a contrarian bettor, I always love, regardless of the sport, because when the ticket counts go up, when there's more public bias saturating the market, it just makes me more excited to go against that, quote unquote, public money and take a contrarian approach. Because again, the public really aren't betting these games based on line movement. They probably can't even tell you what the line opened at. They're not shopping for the best number. They're not looking at, Rithmm Lab predictions, which they should. They're betting the Celtics because they love the Celtics. They're betting the Lakers because they love the Lakers. There's really not a lot of, analytic-based handicapping applied here. It's really, gut instinct and bias. I mentioned the schedule, all heavily bet, fewer games to choose from, but also I like the fact that it's kind of every other night. So there are no back-to-backs. You get bunches where, the first couple games are at home, then you flip stadiums. So just kind of the schedule, the way the games are set up, and obviously the action that these games produce, all to me make it a little bit, I'm not going to say it's easy because handicapping is never easy. Anyone who tells you sports betting is easy, stop listening to that person. Sports betting is very difficult. We got to beat the razor sharp lines the supercomputer set. We got to overcome the juice. We got to avoid bad beats and refs screwing us and players making dumb mistakes, the weather, all these different factors. So it's not easy. But I would say relative to the regular season, I just feel like I have a little bit better of an edge in the postseason. So With all that being said, I want to hit on one game tonight where the betting market and the analytics predictions from Rithmm are overlapping. So that game is the Magic and the Hawks. So this is your play-in tonight. What is it? 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. The winner plays the Celtics. Let's set the stage a little bit. I always like to give a little bit of background here, at least from a situational standpoint and betting market standpoint. And I always like to finish with the Rithmm model. So for this one here tonight, 7:30 in Orlando, the Atlanta Hawks come in. Basically, both teams are around 500. Hawks probably where you thought they'd be, 40-42. Orlando took a step back this year, but they had a lot of injuries. Banchero and Wagner were out for quite a while. They're 41-41. Now, I will mention the side real quick. We have seen a little bit of movement here toward the Orlando Magic. The Magic opened around -5. They've now been bet up to around -5.5. So I always start a handicap by saying, okay, what are the people, the sharps? Remember, the public doesn't move numbers. The sharps move numbers. Sharps are quote unquote wise guys, professional bettors. They have a long track record of success. And most importantly, they have the respect of the sports books. If you are a losing bettor, if you're Drake, the rapper, or Floyd Mayweather, and you bet $1 million on a game, you may not really move the number because the books don't respect their action. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's not an informed, smart money bet. But if you're Billy Walters or some professional bettor who's really sharp, and you bet 10 grand on a game, you might move that number because the books respect your action. That's money that is not throwing a dart. That's money that is coming from a bettor who probably sets their own power ratings and looks for discrepancies. And one thing that made Billy Walters, really the best bettor of all time, the quote unquote Michael Jordan of sports betting, is the fact that he could set lines better than the odds makers could. So odds makers might have a favorite at -3. He says they should be -4.2. Therefore, he's going to play that favorite. He has an edge over the book. Or maybe the odds makers have a favorite at -3. He has a -1. Okay, let's take the dog +3. You're playing your discrepancy plays. Also, pros, they get inside information. They have sources. They hear things from people that we don't. There are a lot of distinguishing factors from a public bettor and a sharp bettor. All that being said, we did see this line move a little bit to the Magic, -5 up to -5.5. If we look at the bet splits right now at DraftKings, Magic are getting 54% of spread bets, 58% of spread dollars. So it kind of looks like a little bit of movement. Public's very slight, a little bit of money here going with Orlando. Now, if we start with what Rithmm is, telling us for this game, right off the bat, the first thing that I look for is whether or not it's a recommended play or kind of a caution play. So as you can see here, all three of these predictions here, 2 on the Magic, 1 on the Hawks, are all basically caution flags. Use caution. There's a recommended play. I would consider this a lean. Basically, it's a lean based on the data, but it meets the criteria of at least recommending it, but it doesn't meet the criteria of, hey, we're super confident. We got all the information backing this, feeling like this is really the sharp bet you should play. So the first thing I notice is that they're conflicting. I got Hawks, I got Magic. None of them are green. Let's dig a little deeper, though. If we look at the prediction, my first model, and I should tell you guys this, one thing that I love about Rithmm is you can either just say, Rithmm, give me your best AI models, which are, basically they're going to spit out to you my pre-built model. Or you can create your own, which I think is really cool because one thing you'll notice, I think, when you start with Rithmm is that if you're new to it, you say, hey, just give me your best stuff. You guys are the AI people, the MIT sharp people who have come up with this stuff. Just give me you're smarter than me. Tell me what you like. Then once you start playing around with Rithmm, you say, hey, maybe I should bet on myself a little bit. Maybe I should create some betting systems based on factors that I feel are very important. That's what's really cool. That's when you can create a model based on specific categories. So like I have a Josh model here where I believe I put more stock into defense and like free throw shooting. Maybe you say, hey, I want to bet teams that shoot the 3 and rebound a lot. You can create a model based on those factors. But that's just important because, you can either just follow the one Rithmm gives you or you can create your own. So let's just go one by one. This pre-built model says lay the Magic. Basically it's not a huge edge here. You're right around, what is that? 4.5, something like that. Second model, you're looking at around a 5.3. So a little bit better. My Hawks model, basically a 5-point game. So I think it's important too, like when you're using Rithmm, you want to know when to lay off a play as well. It's as much or as important to figure out what I want to bet versus what I maybe, a couple things I like, but they're not perfect. I mean, no play is really perfect, but I'm going to lay off because it's not strong enough of an edge for me to get down on. And remember, when we're betting on sports, we're risking our own money. You might work a construction job or you're a teacher or whatever you do. This is hard-earned money that you earn. You don't just want to throw it away. You don't want to just bet games. Hey, 2-second handicap, I'll play this and hope that it wins. That goes very quickly here. You're going to learn that is not a winning strategy. So what I look for are sizable edges. The bigger the discrepancy, the more confidence that I have. So for example, if this model said, predicted Magic, 115 to 108, okay, that would get me more excited to play the Magic. Or maybe my Hawks model is 110.5 to 109.7. That would give me more confidence to play the Hawks. So again, it's not just blindly following these models. You can do that, but I think it's looking at is there an edge, and then how big is the edge? Because there's a lot of games you can bet on, and we only want to get down on the games where we feel like we have the most edge or the biggest edge. So I'm going to bypass the side. This is a long-winded way of me saying I'm not going to play the side. Yeah, the line moved a little bit to the Magic, -5 up to -5.5, but basically Rithmm says it's right where it should be. Therefore, I have no edge. However, I got to play on the total. I am going to look at the total here, and we're going to interpret what these numbers say. So next, you'll notice in the total, let's start with the betting market. The betting market for this game, total open as low as 217.5. We saw this line get all the way up to 219, 219.5. So the first thing that jumped out to me is this total rose. It went up. That tells me that as soon as this line was available to bet, 217.5, 218, you had some over money come in, jack that line upwards. Next, I'll look at the bet splits. So first, let's figure out which direction the line's going. It's going up. Bet splits here. If you look at DraftKings, the public is pounding the over. Now, you're going to see this pretty much every game. It's very rare the public plays an under, especially in the NBA. Why? Because psychologically, there is an innate bias to play the over. If you're at home watching the game alone, or you're with your friends, or you're at the bar, what do we love to do? We love to see action. We love to see three-pointers, dunks, and ones. It's more fun and exciting to see scoring. Therefore, psychologically, especially, public bettors, they're automatically, if you say you want the over or the under tonight, they're going to say, give me the over. Just because it's not as fun to root for the under. You're going to have to root for blocks and missed shots and low scoring games and, shot clock violations, missed free throws. It's a totally different sweat. And I would argue, again, it's fun to sweat an over and they score a lot and you win. Hey, that's fantastic. But it's not about what you think or want or hope will happen. It's trying to find where the smart money's at and then being with that smart money. So public's always going to want to play overs because they want to see that action. You see it in the NBA. You see it in playoff games in particular because they're one-off island games. They get a lot of attention. Public's going to root for the affirmative and play the over. However, oftentimes, even though it's not the quote-unquote fun play, you're the person at the party who's, the wet blanket or the black sheep, whatever, cliche you want to use. But you're the one playing the under. But you know what is really fun? Winning a bet. So our goal is always to make a bet that hopefully will win. We can never guarantee it because, again, sports betting is difficult. The whole reason, the whole point of sports betting or gambling is you're taking a gamble. You're betting on something that is an unknown outcome, which is why betting is so frustrating sometimes, but also so exhilarating sometimes. You have to make the smartest decision you can to hopefully lead you to a victory. So the total in this game went up. Magic and Hawks, 217.5 to 219, 219.5. At DraftKings, big public book, heavy public betting on the over, nearly 7 out of 10 bets. So you might say, hey, play the over, right? Went up, everyone's playing the over. Let's be with the crowd. I'm a contrarian bettor. I like to bet against the public. Now, I fully admit it's been a bit of a tough run here for the contrarians like myself because the NFL was a very chalky year. I think it was the chalkiest year in, I don't even know, 10, 15 years with favorites winning and covering. March Madness, you had a lot of favorites doing well. I believe, set the record for most straight-up wins by favorites since the tournament got expanded in 1985. So public Just thinking this sports betting thing is easy. Just take the favorite. Better team, they'll win, they'll cover. However, as a contrarian, you try to see the forest amongst the trees and bet against the public and place yourself with the house. Like, think of it this way. If this Magic Hawks game flies over, it's a 120 to 115 game. The public's happy, the books are not. Books will lose here and there, but they're going to win long term. So I want to be with the house. I want to be against the public. That's leaning me toward the under. Now, if we dig a little bit deeper here, let's look at what these models are predicting. So my pre-built model says take the over 219. We have basically a 220.9 here. But remember, it's a caution flag. I have another over. Basically a 220.7, but again, a caution flag. This is what I like. Right there. I love seeing these green recommendations. It's a recommended play. It is a sharp play. Unders, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Unders aren't always fun. Let me go back. Unders aren't always fun, but they're profitable. You're getting good value backing the sharp side of this bet based on your model. Then we look at the recommendation. We analyze what your model says, the line and the historical data across sports and bet types to identify your best chance of winning. Bets we recommend are marked with green stars. So the first thing I notice is that, yes, I have 2 overs and 1 under, but the 2 overs are caution flags. My only under is a recommended play. So let's dial up this recommended play. If we add these 2 numbers up, 110.5 to 105.7, that is a 216.2. So my only recommended play here is on the under. It's a sharp green star. I am with this sharp play recommendation. I am against the public by playing the under because, again, 71% are on the over. And then here's where I use a little more of my own kind of handicapping style. A couple things I like to look at. One, betting systems. Now, there's a big distinction between trends and systems. Trends, there's a lot of phrases around the betting world. Trends are your friend until they end. Trends don't pay the rent. Basically a trend, you can think of like, I remember, so I'm 37 years old. I remember, when I was in middle school, I had the Jinko jeans, I had a chain wallet, and I had a Walkman or a Discman. Those are all gone. The trends didn't remain. The 80s, you had hair bands. The 70s, you had bell bottoms. They're trends because they didn't last forever. And now we look back at them and say, man, that was ugly. That was gross. How did anyone love that? I had frosted tips. I was your cliche, like early 2000s kid, 90s kid. Now, the difference, though, is trends versus betting systems. Trends come and go. Trends are also typically specific to one team. Like, Celtics trend. They've hit the over in 10 of their last 15 on the road coming off a loss. Okay, maybe that's predictive. Maybe it's not. Betting systems are different. Betting systems are basically a formula or a model where, based on a certain amount of filters or criteria, you can plug in any 2 teams and it does very well. So I always give you the easiest betting system in the world, windy unders in the NFL. When the wind blows 10 miles per hour or more, or upwards of 15 or 20 miles per hour or more, unders in the NFL are like 55, 56%. Because it doesn't matter what team it is. It can be the Chiefs. It could be the Jags. It doesn't matter. Unders typically do better because when it's windy, it's harder to throw the ball. You're going to miss kicks. You're going to run the ball, chew up the clock more. It benefits the under. Now, you can find these betting systems across all different sports. Here's one that I found. Jerry Davis. What up, Jerry? How you doing, buddy? Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Here is a betting system that I have for play-in games. Now, the play-in games have been around for a few years at this point. I remember when Adam Silver in the NBA came up with it, I'm like, kind of gimmicky. Like, it didn't mean too much to me. But I actually kind of grown to kind of like them because they give you more games to bet on, and it makes the regular season a little more interesting because more teams can make the postseason. And maybe you make a run. Maybe you're like a team that wins their conference tournament when they shouldn't have, and then you make a deep run in the postseason in the NCAA tournament. Anyway, if you look at when the play-in games started, so I believe they started in 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. Play-in games, in terms of the total, this is crazy. The under in play-in games, since play-in tournament was created a few years ago, are 17-7. I got all the games lined up here. I have all the historical results. Play-in games, 17-7 to the under. That is a 71% win rate. That is a 35% ROI. If you have been playing every under in every play-in game since the creation, the inception of the play-in tournament, $100 bettors up nearly $900. Now, you got to ask yourself, why do unders do better in play-in games? I would argue a couple things. One is the fact that it's basically a postseason game, and the style of play in the postseason versus regular season is very different. Regular season is more wide open. Regular season is up and down. The stakes aren't as high. Yeah, you want to win. Yeah, you want to play well. But again, the motivation, your season's not over. You got a lot of games left to play. Play-in is a one-off. This is basically a game 7. One of my other favorite systems is game 7 unders, both NHL and NBA. Whole idea there is everything's on the line. You're going to be more conservative and take less chances. You're going to use the shot clock. If you're a hockey team, you're not going to have, crazy, backhanded passes. You're going to be more conservative. You're going to take less chances. This is a little bit different, but game 7 also you like unders because tired legs. You've seen your opponent 6 times already, leads to a lot of unders. But style of play in the playoffs, again, is different. It's less wide open. It's bogged down a little bit more. And hopefully you lock in on defense and you use the shot clock. You get a good shot. You take less chances. Also, the refs, do the refs let them play a little bit more? And instead of just, constant fouling, every single possession, maybe that's part of it as well. Jerry Davis has a great point. Jerry always comes in locked and loaded. He says, I got a guy that is going to play all starters, points, props under in the games tonight blindly. Yeah, and normally I would say anything blindly is a little bit scary, but I think there's a thought process to that. Starters are going to get a lot of action. Everyone's going to want to play their overs. Maybe you're taking advantage of shaded or inflated numbers where I believe Paolo Banchero's over-under is like 30.5 points. Jerry, I don't know if that's right or you have it in front of you. We can look at it in a second, but let's play the under because everyone's playing the over. Maybe it should really be 27.5, but the odds makers jack it up because they know everyone's going to play the over. Similar thing here when it comes to the total. So play-in unders are 17 and 7. Now another thing I like to do is look at specifically how these teams perform. If you're betting the NBA, one site that I like, if you just Google it, ESPN Hollinger. It's this guy, I think it's Scott Hollinger, who is kind of like a Ken Palm. He gives some great analytics, but I noticed a couple things about this game. One is the pace. The Orlando Magic ranked 28th in the NBA in pace. They're slow. Good for an under. Offensive efficiency, Magic 27th, Atlanta 18th. So both are basically bottom half of the league offensively. Orlando is great defensively, number 2 in the NBA in defensive efficiency. The Magic in particular were the second best under team in the NBA this year, 47 and 35, 57.3%. At home, the under hit in Magic games 25 and 16, 61%. And then, of course, the cherry on top is the fact that Rithmm, even though I have 3 plays and they are conflicting, there's only one green play, there's only one sharp play, and my Rithmm model is telling me, hey, this should be about a 216. We're getting under 219. So I've built a case for the under. The last thing I want to look at is shop for the best line. Now, if you are betting on sports, I know Willie, Myrna BD3, and Jerry Davis, they don't bet just through one book. However, you see so many new bettors just bet through one book. They only bet through their FanDuel. They only bet through DraftKings. They only bet through ESPN Bet. That is a big, big mistake. On the one hand, I get it. You don't want to set up multiple accounts. It's a process. You don't want to have to shop around. It's a lot of work. But let me tell you, the work, the juice is worth the squeeze, because if you only have one book, you have to play whatever number that book is telling you. But if you have multiple books, you can shop for the best line. And that means just looking at every book across the market and finding the book that gives you the best number. So with that being said, we have quite a few books that are at 219 right now. I am seeing, as we speak, FanDuel's 219, Caesars is 219, DraftKings is 219, BetMGM is 218.5. However, ESPN Bet, don't tell anyone. ESPN Bet currently has 219.5. Under -115, so you're paying a little more juice, but 5 cents more. Now the game, if it lands on 219, instead of pushing all those 219s, you win your under 219.5. So I placed this bet at ESPN Bet under 219.5 at -115, because I got a good rhythm prediction. Everyone's playing the over. I'm not going to call this a sharp under because the total has gone up, but it's a value play where I'm selling high. And I already played this earlier today. My goal, what I'd love to see between now and 7:30 is that 219.5. Hopefully you guys got it, but I want to see it fall. I want to see all these lines get down closer to 218.5. I want to beat the closing line. That is also what I'm looking at. And Jerry brings up a good point. Last 3 head-to-heads all went over, so public saying just ride the over. Maybe it's inflated. Another kind of trend there that I want to fade basically. So that is my first play of the night, under 219.5 in the NBA. Now, I admit I have not played any props in the NBA, but just because of what Jerry was mentioning, let's look at all the props for this game, because remember, Rithmm is great for AI-backed models for game bets, spread, money line, and total. But they also got us locked here for these player props. So let's look at points, because that's probably the most obvious public play. And let's look at what Rithmm has. So these are the recommended. I'm actually going to go, let's see, props. Let's see, all props. Where do I go here? I'm going to focus on the Hawks and Magic. And let's just see what we're looking at here. So Dyson Daniels, I believe he's a favorite for most improved. Over 13.5. Rithmm is predicting 15, but it's a caution. It's not recommended. Vit Krejci, over 4.5. Rithmm recommends 5.4. Georges Niang, recommended play, over 7.5. And he's predicted for around 10.4. That's about a 3-point edge. Niang, he kind of catches my eye a bit. Risa Shea, top pick in the draft. Over 10.5, he's predicted 12.9. Recommended. The other thing you'll notice to what Jerry mentioned is starters playing the under. These are like Niang's a bench guy, Krejci's a bench guy. You look at some of these other players though, like Trae Young. You gotta have some cojones to play Trae Young under, because he can go off for 50. But to Jerry's point, 26.5, it's really juiced to the under. Rhythm's predicting 24.5. Maybe you fade all this love for Trae Young and go under. Anthony Black, over 7.5. He's projected 10.5. I haven't made these player prop bets, but I think this is the way you want to turn. Oh, here's a perfect example. Franz Wagner, 25.5. Pay attention to the juice. A lot of bettors want the plus money, but oftentimes the minus number, even though you got to pay it, it can be a good sign because it means that it's juiced up for a reason. And anytime I see a star player, a starter with the juiced under, I kind of like it more, because they're making you pay a more expensive price on what you think is probably the wrong side. But under 25.5, he's projected 20.7. That is about a 4.5-point edge, nearly a 5-point edge. So Wagner caught my eye. I'm interested if they have Banchero. Yeah, under 30.5, projected 16.9, but it is a caution flag. So that's kind of the way that I like to approach some of these player props. Now, I wanted to quickly hit on some Major League Baseball, because MLB is brand new to the Rithmm app, and there is Jerry Davis already got Franz bet under. Attaboy, Jerry. But let's go to MLB. Let's go to games. I am on quite a few MLB plays for tonight. You can always get my plays on the All Systems Go pod. You can find it on my Twitter at Josh_insights or at _ASG_podcast. You can find it on Spotify, iTunes, all your different pod areas. But anyway, I focused on a play for I'm not going to call it a sharp bet, but a value play that I think is worth taking a shot on tonight. So I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to go to the fathers, the dads, the Padres. So Cubs Padres tonight. One thing you've noticed, or maybe you haven't, if you haven't looked at this game, is that there's a lot of steam on the Cubbies. Cubbies open this game on the road. They're as low as like -120, -130. Now they're as high as like -150, -160. So this line has gone quite a bit toward the Cubs. If you're playing the Cubs right now, you are on quote unquote the sharp side. The line has moved bigly in their favor, but you're also kind of laying the worst of it. You could have gotten them -120, -130. Now they're like -160. So I'm intrigued to play San Diego tonight. Shop around. I got the Padres +135. It's not a sharp bet because the line's going away from the pods, but it is a Rithmm recommendation. Fully admit they're caution flags, but they're all on the Padres. This one, though, is no edge. Your model sees a pricing issue. It doesn't offer enough value to make it worth betting. Consider it a lean. These are caution flags, falls outside the optimal range. Where your model performs best. Each unique model has a unique sweet spot. So none of them are green, fully admit, but they're all on the Padres. And let me give you some stats here on San Diego. First thing you notice is the pitching matchup, Imanaga against Randy Vasquez. Imanaga has been great. Vasquez no slouch, though. Remember, he was with the Yankees, I believe, and he got part of that trade to San Diego for Soto, I think. But he's been pretty good, 1.72 ERA. Here's why I am going to take a shot on the Pods with the plus money. One, it's a value play on a good team. Padres are 11-0 at home. What are they, 13-3 on the year? They're getting a good plus money payout, but this is what really got me excited. San Diego against left-handed pitchers this year. They're hitting 256. That's the 6th best in baseball. They're hitting 291 at home, the 4th best in baseball. So the Padres have raked at home. They've raked against lefties. Tonight, they're at home against the lefty. Their bullpen is the number 1 bullpen in baseball, 1.57 team ERA. The Cubbies, by the way, 5th worst bullpen, 5.27 ERA. So, if Cubs win this game, I'll say, hey, it was obvious. They got steam, minus 120, minus 130, all the way up to like minus 160. But even if this is a play, I guess I should say that if I lose it, I'm not that upset because I'm playing a good team at home, getting plus money that rakes against lefties, rakes at home, has a good, decent pitcher on the bump, and has all 3 Rithmm models on their side. So I'm taking a shot on the Padres here. Again, plus 135. I believe that was at Caesars. So make sure you get the best price. Any props jumping out to us? Recommended props. You got some K props. Vasquez, who we just talked about. Can he get you 4 strikeouts? Over 3.5. He's projected at 5.3. Hunter Brown's under. In terms of outs, Feltner's been pretty good. This one kind of caught my eye. Over 4.5. He's projected for 6.4. If you like hitting props more, there are a few here that hopefully we can take advantage of. Let's see. Mountcastle under 1.5. He is facing Logan Allen tonight. Freeman, Miles Straw, Schwarber. Again, I'll defer to you guys in terms of what you want to do there, but I want to at least have you aware of all these props available to you in the app. So, baseball's back. We got NBA postseason. Did notice the WNBA draft was last night. Page, is it Buchers or Beckers? Which is pretty good, though. WNBA will not be far away. Golf. I'm not a huge golf guy, but just had the Masters. I know there are a lot of models on Rory. Rory came through. I want you guys to be aware of all the different. Obviously, we got football is off right now, so really for now we're focusing on MLB and NBA, but that's all available to you in the Rithmm app. So that about does it for the Tuesday lab. Again, I'm sweating the under in the playing game. I got the pods as well, plus money, and then I do have 3 other plays in Major League Baseball. You can find them on the All Systems Go pod. You can also follow me at Josh_Insights on Twitter. But I wish you the best of luck betting money line or run line. Jerry, plus 135 money line, baby. Win the damn game. I did notice someone I respect actually. I think they played the reverse run line on the Padres, minus 1.5 at like plus 250, something crazy like that. But I wish you the best of luck, guys. Hope you cash your bets here for tonight. Want to thank you always for tuning in. I have a lot of fun hosting these Rithmm Labs. And now we have kind of the freedom to hit on whatever we want. I love doing just football or just college hoops. But now as we get into spring, summer, you can expect on this pod for us to talk about, all the different sports that are going on. So on behalf of Rithmm, lastly, of course, I always got to mention, I know you guys have already downloaded Rithmm, Jerry and Myrna BD3 and Willie Tomlinson. But I always try to say this to you guys. You have some homework. I'm your teacher. I'm your professor. I'm a cool professor, I at least hope you think that. But I'm going to give you some homework tonight. It's very easy homework. So don't freak out. Your homework is to introduce Rithmm to one person in your life. One person. Your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your son, your daughter, your cousin, your coworker. Find one person who is into sports betting but has never heard of Rithmm and have them download the app. So I'm going to point to it right there. QR code. Download Rithmm. Give it a 5-star review in the App Store. Rithmm is so fantastic with their data. We need to bring it to the masses to help them make smart bets. So download Rithmm. Tell a friend. We got the Discord channel. And you can always count on this Rithmm Lab stream every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So Jerry, Myrna D, B3, Willie, the whole crew, thank you guys all for tuning in. It's great seeing you. I wish you the best of luck. And I will see you next Tuesday for another edition of the Rithmm Lab with myself, Josh Appelbaum. Good luck, everybody, and have a great night.